I'm going to create a network using a 4 router now. So let's do it, guys. Let's set up the PCs first. There will be also a server which will serve the which will serve as a HTTP server. In that case, I'll set 3.184 model router and one generic router. Okay, before I connect them together, I usually what I usually do, I configure those routers. So let's configure those routers. And for the generic router configuration, this router will have three serial connections. So by default, no router has 3 serial connection. You have to make it having the 3 serial connections. So remember that these ports are used as the serial connector. So there is 2 serial connector here, so I have to put another serial connector. Let's put another serial connector, and for that this one right here will give us the serial port. So let's drag it and put it here. So as you can see that this port and this port and this port, these 3 ports looks the same. That means they are the serial connector, and here are 3 serial connector here. So let's turn it on. Usually I name the PC using their IP address. This will help me to remember which PC has the which IP address when I configure them. So okay, let's configure the PCs first, then I'll connect them together, or let's connect them together first. Okay, they are all connected. Now I'll configure the PC's IP. As we all know that the PC's the default gateway of this PC will have the first IP address of the network, because this is the rules for the default gateway. Okay, for the server you don't need to configure anything else except the IP configuration. You can do some tricks here if you want to show, because this web page will show when you browse this server with any of these PCs. So if you can, if you want, you can, you can actually change any text here that will appear when you browse through a PC, browse the server through a PC. So it's not mandatory, you don't need to do it, but I usually do it, so that's why I want to show you how to do it. So let's configure the routers now. All the PC and the servers are configured. Now I'll configure the routers. For the first router, let's do the configuration of the first router. So this PC here is connected to the router 0 using the fast Ethernet port 001. So let's on the port status and put the IP here, and the IP will be the 1.0.0.1, because the router fast Ethernet IP will be the first IP address of a network. So I'll also configure the serial port connection, as the router to router configuration is router to router connection is done through the serial port. So I'll configure the serial port for this one, and this router is connected to the router 3 using the serial port 000. We can see that. So let's configure the serial port 000. Let's do the same for router 1. The same thing for router 2. Okay, so for this network you don't need to do it, because it is connected to the router 3. So let's configure the router 3. So when you configure the router 3, you have to see that this router this portion of the network is connected to the router 3 through serial port through fast Ethernet port 00. So let's configure the fast Ethernet port 00, and it will be the first IP address of the network that is connected to this router. So when I configure the serial port for this router, you can see that this router is connected to the router 0, router 1 and router 2. So what you need to do, that you have to find out that which port which serial port is connected to which router. So for that I'll click here on the red dot and see that this port is connected to serial port 20 to the router 0. So let's configure the serial port 20, and when you configure the serial port 20, you have to remember that the IP address will be the serial IP address of the router 0. Like this connection will have to be serial will have to be the IP address of the serial IP address, because this router here has the IP address of 10.0.0.1. So when you configure this port to this port, you have to give the serial for this port using the same IP address. Just instead of 1, it will have 2. That means that the IP address will have the serial the serial IP address, like after the 10.0.0.1 it will be the 10.0.0.2. So on the same thing for this one, same, as it is has the, let's see, it has the serial for 20.0.0.1, so you will have to put here for the 3, it is connected to the 3 port, you will have to put the IP address of 20.0.0.2. okay. For this router 2, for router 2 you have to put the serial, it is connected to the serial 6, so you have to put the, okay, you have to put the serial IP address 30.0.0.2, as it is has the serial port address 30.0.0.1. okay. So now what you need to do is you have to make the routing for those 4 networks. So when I do the routing, you have to understand one thing very clearly. When you route from this router to any of this router or any of this network, you have to remember that this router is connected to any of that network, any of this network, and this network through this port. Actually through this port, I am marking the port. So whenever the router 0 try to establish a connection with any of the network, it had to go through this port, actually the serial port 20. So when I make the routing for this one, I'll have to make sure that the serial port will remain always the IP address of this serial port. Let's go for this network. As we all know that when you route to any other network, you have to give the network host IP address. After that you have to put the DNS address, then you have to put the serial port, and the serial port always will be the IP address of this port. That means this port, because this router 0 is connected to any of this network using the port using the serial port 20 of router 3. Let's do the same thing for this portion. And for that think about that, you don't have to need to change any of the serial port here, so because this network is connected through this port, right? So this port has the same IP address, because for that reason you don't need to change the IP address, serial port IP address. Let's do the same for this one. So when you will go from the network 2, like this network, to any other network, you will connect it to the router 3 using the port 30, and you have to put the IP address of the port 30 when you want to route to any other network. So let's do it. I am now routing to the network 1, that means this portion of the network. That is why I am giving the IP address, host IP address of this network. So now I'll create the routing status for router 2, And as you can see that router 2 is connected to any of this network using the port 60 of the router 3. So you have to give the IP address of the 60 port of router 3 when you want to route. If you don't understand the routing, I recommend you to see my previous tutorials. You will find how we can create the routing. And just though I am telling here also. Sorry about that. Okay, now I'll create the routing status from router 3 to other networks, to this network, to this network, and to this network. Okay, so when I create the routing status, routing from router 3 to router 0, or the first network and the second network and the third network, I'll have to give the routing command using the IP address of this network, the network 1, and giving the DNS of the network 1, and giving the serial port IP address of the router 0, because I'm actually want to connect to this network, so I'll have to give the routing status of the router 0, serial port IP address of the router 0. Remember that, yeah, I gave that 10.0.0.1 because this router 0 has the serial port IP address of 10.0.0.1. For the second network, I'll give it 20.0.0.1 and change the host IP address, because this network has this router has the serial port IP address of 20.0.0.1. So I want to connect to this whole network, to this network 2. If I want to connect to this network 2, I will have to give the serial port address of the router 1. Now I want to connect to the router, the network of this portion of the network. So for that I will have to give the serial port IP address here, as it is 30.0.0.1. that is the IP address of this router, serial port IP address of this router. Okay, all routing are done. That means our network is ready to go. We can check like ping from this PC. I'll check the connection for ping from this PC to this one. Let's see whether whether we are getting response from that one. Yeah, we are getting response from the network, from this network. So that means the connection is established. Let's see whether we can get the access of the server. So let's browse through the server with the IP address of the server here. So here you can see that we change the index page of that server, and that is now what is showing us the JNO, and this one what I gave here on the HTTP link. So this is also connected, so all the network are connected with each other. We can see it on simulation. Let's see it on simulation. Send a message from here to this PC. Let's see. Delete the earlier one. So the status will be successful. Here you can see the status will be successful, and a tick mark here, so that means the connection is established. So that's all for today. Thank you.